Who's going to start it for us? Yeah. All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. We're just going to give it a few moments to allow some more people to join in. All right. We've got people rolling in now. Okay. Well, let's just go ahead and get started. We have a lot to cover today. I want to say hello to everyone and thank you all for joining us for our first stakeholder update webinar of 2024. For those of you I've not met yet, my name is Hillary Navarro and I am Verra's Chief Communications Officer. I'm going to be emceeing and quarterbacking the session today, making sure we stay on track and on time during this hour-long webinar. So just as a reminder, we have committed to hosting these stakeholder update webinars quarterly throughout this year. The next 3 are slated for April, July, and October, and registrations for those sessions are actually already available if you're interested in signing up early and joining. You can see the link to register down at the bottom of the slide here. And if you register and are not able to attend, like happens to a lot of us because we're very busy, we will automatically send you the recording. So I'd like to just go ahead and get started today with what's on the agenda. So first up, our President and Interim CEO, Judith Simon, is going to kick us off with the brief recap of the new era for Verra, for those of you who are not familiar with that initiative that we started last year. After that, we are going to kind of do an overview of the commitments that we made, and then go into a deeper dive on a subset of those initiatives, just so you know exactly what we're working on and exactly what you can expect from Verra in the weeks and months ahead. And then to close, we are going to open the floor to all of you to ask us any questions that you have. We should have about 30 minutes for Q&A time. And you can feel free, if a question comes to your mind while we're speaking, feel free to go ahead and type that into the Q&A at the bottom of your Zoom console. We won't get to those questions until the end, but feel free to pose those questions in the console at any time. So without further ado, I am going to hand the floor over to Judith.
Thank you so much, Hillary. And hello, everyone. For those of you that I haven't met, I'm Judith Simon, and I'm excited to be here today, as Hillary said, our first update for our stakeholders in 2024. So looking back at 2023, it was a really pivotal year for the voluntary carbon market. It was marked by intense scrutiny and then a slowing of the market. But there was also groundbreaking process and program advances, and really an overwhelming amount of support at COP28 in Dubai, which was really rewarding to see. But this all occurred in the backdrop of the hottest year on record and a really disappointing global stocktake. And what that highlights for me is just really how far we must go together and how much work we need to do to reach our global climate goals. Verra has a huge role to play in the voluntary carbon market, and we take that responsibility very seriously. We need to make sure that the VCM remains a robust channel for real climate action. We are on a journey to transform Verra because we understand how important that is for advancing climate action and sustainable development across the globe. And this is our New Era for Verra initiative. I've shared this previously. I joined Verra almost a year ago. It was last February as the president. And in May, I stepped in as the interim CEO. And we knew that at that time that we needed to create a whole new roadmap for where we were going. We were building on the legacy of the past and the successes that we've enjoyed, but we also knew we needed to chart a new path. And before we created that roadmap, we said, let's stop and listen to the collective perspective of the key participants in the ecosystem of the voluntary carbon market. And that's exactly what we did. So first, we had a listening tour with over 50 organizations. It's many more since then, but we paired that also with a stakeholder survey. And many of you must have participated because we had over 500 respondents. And so in those listening tour conversations and with that stakeholder survey, we got a wealth of feedback, really clear, candid, constructive feedback. And we also heard how important it is that Verra is successful and how important and vital that is for the marketplace in general. So that was important for us to hear. And so thank you for that feedback. It was clear, it was constructive, and it was important. And it has become the backbone of our focus and our strategy ever since. You told us that we needed to double down on demonstrating our scientific commitment to integrity. You told us that we needed to be faster to respond to your questions. You told us that we needed to be more proactive in our external communications. You told us that you needed us to speed up our processes and avoid delays. And you also asked us to be more transparent in what we were up to, which is exactly why we are having this webinar today. Our webinar series was in response to your feedback. You wanted to hear about what we were working on, what was coming, and to avoid surprises for the future. What were the timelines we were going to be delivering on some of those commitments. So last August was our first webinar. And that's when we introduced the new era for Verra. In September of last year, we identified 3 thematic areas that we must focus on to guarantee the highest impact. And within those 3 areas, we outlined key goals and commitments for ourselves on what we were going to deliver to advance those. And so today we're going to be sharing the progress on those commitments. So a reminder of our 3 priority areas. First is around operational excellence. So this is about us investing in developing the capabilities that we need and the infrastructure we need to deliver excellence for our stakeholders and for the broader marketplace. And this is not just about delivering at the current volumes that we are achieving today, but it's also with an eye to the future where we anticipate significant growth and we know we need to be prepared now to deliver what's needed then. Second is around program impact and scientific integrity, focused on leveraging the best practices, the latest science to enhance our program integrity, foster trust in the work, and scale up climate action. And then the third one is around accountability, where we are focused on acknowledging and upholding our role and our duty to others for the stakeholders, the market, the people, and the planet. So in September, we announced early commitments under each of these priority areas. And we did provide an update on our progress when we were at COP. And all of these are on our website, but I did want to give you kind of a broad view on our progress in those areas. Okay, so we can go on to that. That's great. Thank you, Hillary. Okay, so I'm going to share some commitments with you and some updates. And then I'm also going to be joined by other chiefs on our executive leadership team to give some more detailed updates. So this table that you're looking at really is just a quick status check on these initial commitments. So you'll see on the left, these are the big priority areas, the thematic areas that I just discussed. In the middle, you'll see the commitments or key initiatives that we believed were the most important to work on to advance our goals. And then on the far right, you'll see the status. And green really indicates that The initiative is on track or completed. Yellow is that we might have had some complications or delays. And if we had canceled or postponed something, we would have denoted that in red. But we don't have any of those at this time. And I'm not going to go into full details of this. This is really just an at-a-glance view. But what I hope you will take away is that we are making progress and we are on track with most of the timelines for these initiatives. And we're excited about that because we believe these were the right things to work on. These were our highest priority areas. But I do want to highlight that this is not to be representative, that we are at the outputs that we are ultimately aiming for in terms of the level of performance we expect of ourselves as an organization. That's going to take more time. We are making progress, and it will remain our highest priorities. We will not stop until we are delivering excellence on all fronts. Okay, so now let's look forward on what we're working on next. So I'm going to share a few of what's in the works this quarter. Some of them are a continuation of those initiatives until we see them through. And so I'm going to share a few of them, and then I'm going to turn it over to Farhan Ahmed, who is our Chief Program Management Officer. You're going to hear from Toby Jansen-Smith, our Chief of Program Development and Innovation. And then lastly, you'll hear from Robin, who is our Chief Legal Policy and Markets Officer. So you'll see it takes a village. This is the team. This is the team effort. Okay, so let's talk about them. So we said we're not where we want to be in several areas. We're making progress, but there's still more work to do. An example of that is our registration and issuance process. It's taking longer than we want it to. So the first thing, an initiative that I want to cover today, is our service level agreements. Last year, we committed ourselves to giving our project proponents a better idea of how long it would take for the projects to be processed so that we could reduce uncertainty and better help manage expectations. We know this is a pain point. We have spent a lot of time extensively gathering the data and insights from the current state of our process and understanding and analyzing the operational data to look at the average process times for every step in that process. So we're looking at the average time, and we're also looking at the range of time for those projects. We're also slicing it by project type to understand if there's anything we can discern or learn from that. And so based on this data, we are now finalizing our service level agreements, and we are going to share them with you in February. And so with these service level agreements, we are setting clear targets and expectations for our performance for each stage of the project review process. We are going to work hard to consistently achieve those over the coming months. Our goal is to give you more visibility and certainty regarding the timelines involved as we move your project through the process. We're going to show you the service level agreements, which is our goal. And we also plan to provide you visibility in what our current average processing times are so that you can see where we're currently performing and see our progress as we move towards our goal. So defining the service level agreements is really just the first step. But alongside of that, at the same time, we are working on and about to launch a new approach to our project review process. So we are making changes to our internal process to support and enable our achievement of these service level agreements. And our goal clearly is to reduce the amount of time it takes for the end-to-end process for projects while we are maintaining our high bar for quality. So really excited about these initiatives, about our internal process change to enable this, and also the visibility that we're going to be providing our stakeholders. So that's the first one. The second one is also related, and that is our digital project submission. So I've shared previously a broader digitalization initiative is a key strategy for Verra to enable speed, quality, and scale. And that's not just for our project submission process, but this is where we're starting. This will be an enterprise-wide strategy for our organization. But for this particular project, what we're saying is we are moving away from the PDF-based application process, and we are moving towards a fully digitalized one. And we feel strongly that this is another key change that's going to streamline and enable efficiency across our ecosystem between our project proponents and Verra. It should make it smoother and quicker. And it also can ensure that the process, the application itself is complete, it's error-proof at the beginning. So anything we can do to streamline that first part of the process, avoid revisions and needs to send back and update, I think is going to be very important for us going forward. And it also allows the people that we would be using to look at that completeness check, et cetera, just making sure all of the fields are filled in, can actually be used for project reviews. So excited about this change. This initiative has two kind of key work streams within it. The first one is to digitalize Verra's methodologies. And the second one is to build this online kind of application tool. So these two things kind of work together. On the methodology front, we have completed 16 of Verra methodologies. This has been an important initiative for us for the past about 6 months. And we anticipate that we can do another 20 of those and plan to do that by the end of this year. And then on the online tool front, we have opened up the pilot phase. We have moved from development to pilot phase, and we are testing this beta platform on our Verra Project Hub. Many of you may have gotten this notice. We sent out an invitation early this year with all active registry accounts, asking if you wanted to participate in this pilot. And fortunate for us, we got 13 organizations. So thank you so much if you're participating in this. We have 13 organizations currently testing that platform. If you're interested in also participating in this, you still have a chance. You can reach out to us at hubsupport@verra.org, and we will accept those requests between now and January 28th. So you've got 4 days. The testing period will last to the end of February. And if all goes well and we get some submissions and we get really quality feedback and we know that all is working as planned, we have a broader launch plan for later this quarter in March. So very exciting. And like I said, this is a key initiative under our broader digitalization initiative. So stay tuned. There will be many initiatives in the future as we digitalize across our enterprise. And then the last one that I'm going to give an update on is also related to this coordination and collaboration with you, our stakeholders. So as I mentioned before, in our listening tour and with our feedback, we got responses that indicated it was difficult to know who to call, who to talk to, who's your point of contact. And then also there was a delay in getting answers to questions. And so this was something that we took very seriously. And I announced in September that we were going to introduce a new stakeholder support team. And so fast forward, now we are in January, we have that team in place, we have them onboarded, and we are finalizing our formal announcement to stakeholders to launch this new team. Really excited about that. We're also going to be updating our contact us page on our website to try to clarify who to contact for what types of issues and how to engage with us. So you can expect to see these changes by the end of this month. And just to reiterate, this team is 100% dedicated to stakeholder questions. And so we're excited about the service that we're going to be able to provide with this new group. Our goal is that if you have questions coming into this team that's around a specific project ID, that we're going to try to, our internal SLA is to get the answers to your questions and back to you within 72 hours. So before I hand this over to Farhan, I just and sign off for today's webinar, I just want to say thank you again. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you for the collaboration, the ongoing communication that many of you are exchanging with me and my team. And for those of you that are actively participating and supporting these initiatives, we appreciate it so much. And for that, I will turn it over to Farhan.
Thank you, Judith, and thanks a lot for sharing updates on the 3 very important actions we are taking to progress on our journey of operational excellence. I'm going to cover another 2 initiatives, which are key focused on our operational efficiency and the way we engage with our stakeholders. So I'll be sharing updates on the validation and verification bodies performance monitoring program launch and the launch of a new version, improved version of our project tracker. And as Judith mentioned, all of these initiatives and actions we are covering under the umbrella of operational excellence are interconnected. So when we started developing our strategy on improving our operational efficiencies, the way we engage with the stakeholders, optimizing the speed, intensity, and rigor of our review process, the way we provide information, we share information with the stakeholders, everything is interconnected. We analyze the factors which influence our operational efficiencies and operational performance. And we realize that there are multiple factors. Few of them are internal, such as the way we streamline our processes, the way we manage our workflows, the way we manage the technology. There are many external factors also which directly influence the way we operate and the way we deliver the service. For example, a quality of the project or the design, which is designed properly based on our compliant to our rules and requirements. It's designed, developed, and submitted. That would really help us to manage our review process in a more effective and efficient way. That avoids the back and forth with the PPs and the PTs and the multiple rounds of reviews and the findings. Similar to that, a good quality job done by the validation and verification body in carrying out the validation or verification activity that help us in moving the process review process quicker, faster, and that avoid multiple rounds of findings and reviews on the PRRs submitted by the VE. So that's a combination of internal and external factors influencing our performance and the way we engage with VE. So as Judith mentioned, that we are streamlining our review process. We are working on adopting technology to streamline the workflows, to automate the workflows wherever possible, digitalizing end-to-end process of the project review. These 2 initiatives which I'm talking about are more external facing. For example, the first one which I'm going to talk is I'll provide an update to you. That's a validation and verification bodies performance monitoring program. That program was developed last year. We initiated implementing that program by creating or developing the criteria, the parameters against which the performance of our VEBs to be monitored. We pulled the data, we analyzed the system, the data sets we have available to us. So we worked on internally actually to make sure that we have good hold on data, we collect and analyze on the parameters which are reflecting the performance of our VEBs. And we developed a very specific detailed criteria against which the performance of a VEB would be tracked and monitored. We ran a series of seminars last year with the VEBs to introduce the concept, solicit feedback from them, and eventually we shared a sort of a pilot scorecards with them that how the performance would be evaluated and shared with them. But starting of this year, so technically the performance monitoring program for the VEBs is launched from January 1st. So the performance of the VEBs on the established criteria, the factors we included in the criteria will be tracked and monitored. We are planning to release our first scorecards reflecting the performance of each VEB and share the scorecards with the VEBs that will set a very clear performance expectation and and that will allow us to evaluate the performance of our VBs over a period of time. The focus of that initiative is to make sure that we differentiate between good performance and a performance where the actions or the improvements are needed. So the focus of that initiative is not only to ensure that the VBs fully understand what the performance expectations are, but also we can help them in capacity building. So our training, capacity building initiatives will be focused on the weak areas for specific VBs to make sure that they improve their performance in carrying out the validation and verification activities. So that is one of the area focusing on, the external factors influencing our performance when it comes to the operational efficiencies internally. A better quality of work done by the VB that reflects, that help us to speed up, to scale up our operations and process the project reviews in a quicker, faster manner, and with the quality of work we receive from the VB. The last action, the point I'm going to cover, that is about launching the new version and the improved version of the project tracker. The project tracker was launched last year with very basic functionalities, and the purpose of project tracker was to make the information visible to our project proponents and project developers on the status of their projects in the overall end-to-end review cycle. So we started with basic functionalities with the breakdown of some basic steps in the process or the project review process, so they can track where their project stands right now. Now the improved version, because that's one of the pain points and the concerns we received, the feedback we got from the stakeholders, that is still the visibility is not that clear. The statuses we are sharing are so broad, they cannot really see the movement of the project at the different steps and stages in the review process. So the new version of the project tracker, which would be available from the next month, would provide you better visibility with more meaningful statuses. So you can see a more granular breakdown of the statuses, such as you'll see when the project is in queue, when the project is under the document completeness check, when the project is in the technical review stage 1 and stage 2, when the project is, while we are waiting response from the VBs or the response from the project proponents, when we're starting the post-response review, and when we are closing the project. So you can see more detailed, granular details of the different statuses. In addition to that, Judith Share are publishing the SLAs. So the SLAs would be visible on the Project Hub as well, along with the tracker. And we are going to share the average cycle times against each status. So those average cycle times would be based on the 3 months rolling average. So you can really compare that what the targeted SLAs are and where we are right now. So you can see a gradual progress and improvement in achieving our SLAs and improving our performance to meet the SLAs in coming months. So that is it from my side. I will hand it over to Toby.
Thank you, Farhan. Great stuff. So from my side, looking at various commitments to program impact and scientific integrity, I wanted to focus on 2 main areas. One is the RED+ updates, and the other is broader methodology updates that we're working on. First and foremost, as many of you know, we're working hard on the consolidated RED methodology, which was released last year in Q4, VM48. And to support that methodology and projects being able to use it effectively, we've been contracting out the development of activity data. That's been making great progress and is on track. We have the first activity data for 12 jurisdictions completed. Risk mapping is coming now, including an open call for data layers, which anyone is welcome to submit. And then we expect the risk and allocation tool to be released this quarter. We'll be continuing with activity data collection from our new RFP that we closed a few weeks ago. and we'll be contracting that work out again this quarter, and that will allow the baseline allocations to be completed for the first jurisdictions by the end of this, by the middle of this year, so projects can start using the new methodology. And then we expect most countries where there's any active project development to be allocated and ready by the end of 2024, or at the worst case, the beginning of 2025. So that work's on track and making exciting progress. In other REDD+ updates, we're putting out an RFP in the next month or two to update our avoided planned deforestation methodology or module, and we're scoping updates for unplanned degradation, both really critical activities to support forest conservation. And then we'll be releasing a fee schedule associated with a lot of this work for activity data allocation, probably in the second quarter of this year. So anyways, as I said, that work's on track, really exciting, and we hope and expect this will kind of really, this work and Verra's leadership and your support will really point the way to next generation methodologies and tools to bring confidence and scale to reducing deforestation and forest degradation. For those of you who want to go a little deeper into our forest carbon strategy, including REDD+, we have a dedicated webinar on February 15th. You can see more about that and register on Verra's webpage under the events section. So the second piece I wanted to cover is broader methodology updates beyond forest carbon in two main areas. One is to talk about our commitment to updating and constant and continuous improvement of all of our methodologies that we spoke about last year, and then to give you a preview of some of the new methodology work we have in our pipeline. So as we mentioned last year, and as a commitment we made on our website and beyond, Verra is committed to conducting comprehensive reviews of all of our methodologies at least every 5 years, or if there's a reason to believe from external stakeholder input or our own analysis that improvements might be warranted. We're making good progress on this. We've completed 17 methodology reviews last year, and there's another 8 that are ongoing. And if we find areas that need to be improved, then we focus on those and address them to bring in best practices, scientific consensus, and any other evolving technical developments in that sector. And then we hope or expect to conclude the reviews of about 38 additional methodologies by the end of this year. So we'll have gone through the vast majority of our active methodologies this year in terms of these reviews and any revisions that may be warranted. And then finally, I'll just end on methodology development. For those of you that like to learn a little bit more about what we have in our pipeline, we started last year on our webpage under the methodologies section to list all our activity of methodologies under development, and that includes methodology idea notes, which is the earlier stage, concept notes, and then full math development. And that allows our stakeholder community and interested parties to kind of coordinate their work, see what's coming, and potentially contribute to some of these important work streams. So we have about 50 new methodologies and revisions under development, and that's not counting early stage methodology idea notes. And I'll give you a few quick highlights of a few notable ones. One is rice production systems. So we're developing a new VCS specific methodology to replace the CDM methodology that was excluded from the VCS program last March after we conducted a detailed review of that. So that work is underway. We have just posted or just finished the posting for public comments of our new methodology for improved cook stoves. And that's going to include several updates and changes to reflect latest science and best practices, including, pinning down and harmonizing the key factors in that methodology and aligning with the UNFCCC and other leading science bodies in this space. Carbon capture and storage, we're far advanced there under the VVB, the auditor assessment, the final stage. Before that methodology, we released with elements such as direct air capture and bioenergy, and storage in saline aquifers. So that's an exciting piece of work. And then we are at the draft methodology stage for enhanced rock weathering, specifically for an engineered carbonation of mineral waste. So that's an exciting and very promising removals category that we're going to be building multiple methodologies under. And we have a working group, stakeholder working groups of experts supporting that work. And just a couple of last ones to mention: the accelerated retirement of coal-fired power plants, a big topic at the COP in Dubai. Huge opportunities in the developing world to support their just transition to renewable energy and use carbon finance and carbon crediting to actually shut down early these coal-fired power plants. So we're working with the Rockefeller Foundation and others and that methodology is out for public consultation. We're working on sustainable food systems around food production and upstream emissions, food waste, plant-rich foods. So that's forthcoming. And then a couple of last ones on forest management. One is a methodology about reduced fire and other climate change accelerated disturbance, which is very innovative and will support avoided disturbance and fire management practices, starting in North America and other countries. And then finally, we're going to be streamlining all of the VCS improved forest management methodologies, looking at ways to incorporate, remote sensing and other emerging technology. So as that hopefully points out, we have a lot going on in the methodology and program integrity side of things at Verra. And we look forward to sharing more with you about that as all that work proceeds. And let me hand it over now to Robin to cover updates on accountability related initiatives.
Thank you very much, Toby. Really appreciate that. This next tranche of commitments, those relating to accountability, relates to Verra's role in the ongoing development of environmental and social markets worldwide. When we refer here to development, of course, market development, we're referring not just to growth, that is, of course, important, but also to the ongoing maturation of these markets as they move from the margins to the mainstream. The first prong of market development that I'd like to mention here is Verra's work with governments. We're in the middle of a convergence between the compliance and the voluntary markets as governments take greater notice of this sector and how it can help them meet climate and development goals that they've set. In turn, this entails on our part, frankly, a need to align more closely with the expectations of governments and their requirements, as well as also to enhance our own anticipation of and, frankly, responsiveness to regulatory requirements. So I want to just cover a few of the recent highlights as well as areas for further work. News out of Chile this year brought the announcement VCUs as well as credits from 2 other standards can be used for compliance purposes in Chile's carbon market, which brings to 5 jurisdictions or 5 compliance systems worldwide that accept Verra issued credits. We're currently working on helping to educate and liaising with other governments to explore how Verra's policies and architecture and so forth can be used beneficially by other governments as well. And hopefully we'll be able to make a few more announcements about that in the coming months. With respect to Singapore, I want to highlight some work underway with respect to the a project that's about helping countries meet their NDCs, and that's in close collaboration with the Singaporean government, as well as another crediting program. And this work program, launched at COP, is currently in progress, and we expect to deliver initial results probably by the UNFCCC Substa, which takes place in early June in Bonn. At its heart, this work program is one of developing a standard operating procedure, or basically a rule book, if you will, for how crediting programs like the VCS can be used to enable and serve as the basis for Article 6.2 transfers. Examples: what do host country authorizations, how do they work in practice? How can the registries of the different entities involved, whether that's the host country, the buyer country, or others, how do they work together effectively? Underlying this work program is really showing that that independent crediting programs like Verra's can be used to help countries meet NDCs and to mobilize finance for development under an existing architecture without the need to reinvent the wheel, and also without the need for further decisions by the COP. So one other announcement in this area, a couple other announcements in this area. One is on Rwanda. You may have seen the news coming out very late last year about the application of Article 6 labels to VCUs coming from various projects in Rwanda. This development has provided real proof of concept as to our labeling system, and also to demonstrate the effectiveness and workability of our approach to labels, again, in cooperation with the relevant government. Finally, with respect to the United States, I would like to acknowledge and note the increased regulatory interest by the CFTC in the voluntary carbon market. Verra welcomes this. In our view, they have clear authority to regulate secondary markets and commodities, including carbon credits, as well as fraud and market manipulation in all areas of the carbon market. And we're looking forward to cooperating with them, as well as regulators throughout the world, on enhanced protections for consumers, as well as, frankly, all stakeholders in this area. Finally, I want to touch upon another prong of accountability, and that's about enhanced safeguards and stakeholder protections. Late last year, we introduced our new grievance redress policy that significantly updated our previous complaints policy to bring it in line with prevailing best practice, as well as ICV-CM expectations. Among other changes, we've broadened the categories of complainants, who has standing to bring forward a complaint. We've also provided for anonymous complaints to be made so as to better protect against retaliation, and also there are no fees to bring forward a complaint. Equally, to protect against complaints that may not be made in good faith, we've established eligibility or threshold criteria for complaints. Next steps on our end are to enhance work on processes for all the reviews that we conduct, including Section 6, as well as those under the CCB and SD Vista programs. Further, as the VCS program grows, we expect these reviews by nature to grow in number and scope. Our intention is to proceed as thoroughly, but also as expeditiously as possible, given the need to properly consider allegations that get made, but also the countervailing need to ensure that project proponents have adequate opportunity to address allegations and expect, I think, legitimately to have allegations made against them resolved promptly, one way or the other. Thank you, and I'd like to hand it now back to Hillary.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Judith, Farman, Toby, Robin, for those in-depth updates. So I know that was a lot. We have a lot of questions to try and get through in the Q&A. But before we go there, we hope that you'll walk away from this webinar with at least 3 things, in addition to all the substantive elements that we shared. One, we hope you walk away with the understanding that we are remaining dedicated to the commitments that we made under the new era for Verra, and we are making steady progress towards their completion. Second, we'd like you to walk away with that we know that we aren't where we want to be in all of our areas. We acknowledge that. This is a journey. We ask for your patience. We have a lot of work to do, and it's not going to be completed overnight, but we are making progress. And along those lines, the third point would be that we remain committed to regularly communicating our progress with you. So our next stakeholder webinar is scheduled for April, but in the interim, you'll see individual announcements about the initiatives covered today. They'll be coming to you in newsletters and individual emails and on our socials. And so we will keep you as up to date as we possibly can on all of the progress and great things that are happening within Verra. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and kick off the Q&A portion. We already have quite a lot of questions here. I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen so you can see our faces. And I'm going to do my best to group these because there's a lot of them that are very similar, similar themes. And also some of you have written some things that are more like comments. So just so you know, we are going to be reviewing all of these after the webinar as part of our debrief. So if it's more of a comment, we won't necessarily answer it here. But just so you know, we see it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and answer this first one here on CCP labeling. Robin, I think maybe this would be you. When will Verra publish guides outlining the pathway for CCP labeling? Soon is not a very transparent timeline. Or would that be your team, Toby?
Yeah, so I mean, in late November, of course, we put out our comprehensive statements on the ICVCM, which included sort of how we were putting forward the VCS, the program level assessment, as well as which categories, project categories we were putting forth, and that's currently on our website right now. We announced at the time that a guidance document would be coming forward on sort of what the next steps are. We're also, of course, waiting for the ICVCM to sort of come forward in terms of their assessment. But what we will be doing is that work is currently underway. It's expected to be this quarter, but I can't commit to that. Toby, I don't know if you have more information on the timing of that document.
No, nothing from my side.
All right, so I'm going to group a couple together on the SLAs for you, Farhan, to take these. So the first one is, have you thought about using a service desk to avoid email chains and keep track of conversations? And then can we share the exact date in February that these SLAs will be shared? And how do we plan to track our performance against them? So it's kind of a 3-fer for you.
Great. Yeah, so forgot about the first one. What was the first one, Henry?
Have you thought about using a service desk to avoid email
Service
pings?
desk. Okay, so yeah, so that's the whole concept of establishing the dedicated stakeholder support function. So that would become the focal point for all your inquiries specific to the project. So any project proponent having a project registered under our registry would be able, by using their login, can access the project hub and can send their inquiry to the stakeholder support team, which would be dedicated, and then the way the inquiry can be sent to us, that would be through an interactive form. So that's a new way we are introducing, actually, which is a more effective way to handle the inquiries. So you'll be using a template, a form actually, which is a digital form, and to avoid using multiple inboxes, sending people's inquiries, author inquiries, and the emails to different people actually. So you'll be having a focal point in the form of the stakeholder support team with a dedicated way or the specific way of sending your inquiries by using that digitalized form. And we'll be having a established KPI. So initially, you're starting with a 72 hours KPI to respond back on the inquiries we receive through that channel. Means that, through the form, digitalized form, we are going to use by using the project hub. The second is the timelines about the availability of SLA on the project hub. So the target is that in the first week. So the target is from the February 1st, the SLAs, not only the SLAs, but the average cycle times against the SLAs, and the improved version, the more visibility of the different stages of the project review process. All these three things should be launched by the beginning of February. So we are more or less all ready to launch it. So that should be available within the first week of February as well.
I would caveat that to say that while the SLAs may be done by then, we may need a little bit longer to get the communications out around it. So just saying that we'll have the SLA numbers by the 1st of February, but then the comms team needs to package that. So I would be comfortable committing to the first, like, for the beginning of February.
Beginning of February, fair enough.
Great. All right. So I think maybe Robin, this might be you. I'm especially interested in the digitalization efforts. Does this include the tokenization of credits?
Oh, yes. I mean, the question of whether or not digitalization includes tokenization at this point, no, that's not to rule out tokenization forever. I would, however, point out that tokenization is an area, especially where those tokens are being created sort of as instruments that reflect or that somehow are issued on a platform other than the Verra registry that correspond to instruments on the Verra registry, introduce some interesting regulatory considerations that we're working through and that we know is a focus of ongoing regulatory interest. And so as a result, I would say that this is something we're still working on. It's not part of the when we talk about digitalization of the project submission process, it's not part of that.
All right, I think this might be for you, Toby, but maybe also for you, Farhan. Are we planning to have public geospatial database for our follow projects where we can see the location of projects per country, for instance?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're working on the development of a project location tool that will actually allow us internally and external parties to see where all the projects are and to avoid potential overlaps. So that's a tool in the works.
Great, this one's for you, Farhan, I think, or maybe you, Toby. As you can see, our disciplines cross over sometimes, so thank you for your patience while I figure out where to throw the ball. So great to hear you're initiating digital project submission. Can you please let us know if this would be providing APIs to access your platform? This way we can automatically transfer from our apps to you, one less manual entry and hence one less error opportunity. Might have to channel Venkatesh on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so yes, we're definitely going to be figuring out how to streamline those kinds of submissions, whether it's through APIs or other tools. But yeah, we definitely recognize there's going to be value there.
Anything to add, Farhan?
No, I think so as to be mentioned. So yeah, so that's a more technical question for our technology team. We can, so if we have your question, we'll get back to you on that. What I understood, I think so that's it's a work in progress. So that's the first step we are taking to digitize our project submission. That will be followed by digitizing all our internal processes when it comes to, for example, the whole review process should be digitalized and should be under the same platform with the, and so I really don't know whether the functionalities or the API, interchange would be available from the beginning, and that we can get back to you, by our technology team on that. Yeah.
So unsurprisingly, there's a good number of questions in here around the length of time it takes for projects to work their way through our process. Some of them are just questions, some of them are frustrations, some of them are more like comments. But I think we can tackle, Farhan, I think you can speak to some of these things as a group. There's questions about why it's taking so long, why are we not bringing more external reviewers to help clear the sort of the number of projects sitting in the queue. Is that something that you want to address, Farhan? Just
No, thanks, Harry. No, as I mentioned, there are various factors, some internal, some external factors who influence our timelines and the efforts we need to put in the project review. So we really realized that there is a backlog. Means that the cycle times are not up to the SLAs which we are targeting. So we are publishing the targeted SLAs. Those are the SLAs. Those are actually indicating our commitment and ambitions, actually where we want to reach in future. And then you can see that we start publishing our average cycle time to see our journey, our progress towards getting closer to the targeted SLAs. The time, so there are multiple initiatives, internal initiatives we are launching, we are taking, which are in progress right now. To make sure that we streamline our processes, we digitalize our processes, we streamline the workflows, we use automation of the workflows. We are working on simplifying our review processes by using a more of a risk-based approach, to see, to determine or evaluate the complexity of different types of project. Each project is unique, so we are working on defining a sort of a matrix in which we can categorize the projects, different types of projects by different complexity levels, and then decide about and implement the different intensities and rigor of the review process, just to make sure that we are paying due attention, due scrutiny, according or corresponding to the complexity and the risk of the project. So that will definitely help us in speeding up and reducing our cycle times. So that's the full focus area. Multiple actions focusing on improving the cycle times, and that is one of the key focus we have. And we are continuously working on it, striving on it, and we will continue our focus, continue our efforts till we reach to a reasonable level of cycle times based on the SLAs we are going to publish in soon.
Great.
Yeah, and in addition to that, we initiated a sort of a new idea that concept last year. We initiated a concept of a sprint where we are dedicating our project reviews team only focus on completing the project reviews with a better coordination, collaboration with the reviewers, approvers, and the different actors in the review process. We are repeating the same process again, so we'll be having a second round of sprint starting very soon now. So that's another area, another way actually, just to make sure that we improve our cycle time and we make sure that we are able to process the projects in a quicker, faster way to make sure that we are not accumulating a huge backlog of it.
Great. So we only have 7 minutes yet. I just left. I want to encourage the members of the Verra staff on the panel. If you see a question in the queue that's a quick answer or something that you can respond to, please feel free to go ahead and type your answer in there. If I see you typing an answer, then I won't call it out for a public response. We're not going to be able to get through all of these, but trying to get through as many as we can.
Hillary, I can take one quickly.
Yes.
Asking about CCP labels and ICVCM for historically issued credits. So Verra's working hard to create pathways for existing projects and their historic emission reduction removals and potentially issued credits that haven't been retired to allow them to apply new methods, for example, the new consolidated red meth, to then recharacterize those emission reduction removals and make any adjustments in the numbers so that then they can earn the CCP label. So we recognize there's a strong demand for that, and we'll be working to support it.
Maybe another one while you're talking, Toby, that's yours is, do we see a role for Verra in the verification process of blue carbon? Do we have a plan of criteria installed for carbon credits that are farmed in ocean-related activities?
Yes. I mean, when you say a role for Verra in the verification process, so yeah, blue carbon is a huge area for us. We've had various working groups, currently an ocean carbon working group that's working with the leading scientists and practitioners to identify where the methodological gaps are and how we can address them to develop new methodologies. There's a lot of exciting blue carbon meths in our pipeline. We won't be actually doing the verification. That's not our job. The auditors, the VVBs do that, but we're definitely bringing together the leading experts. And there's a lot of great work in our pipeline you can see on our website, including an avoided bottom trawling methodology, which some of you may have read about, which is kind of perhaps the new red of the seas to help conserve ecosystems and the associated carbon.
Right, this
And-
one is, oh, go ahead, Vernon.
No, Henry, I can take one. That's a quick question actually on regarding whether we are going to share the VVB's scorecards, performance scorecards publicly and with the stakeholders or not. So no, so that's not the intention to start with. So, so it's at the initial phase right now, the scorecards and the performance parameters or the performance evaluation results would only be shared with the VVBs with the aim of communicating a clear set of expectations from Verra to the VVBs, and then working them together to build capacity, focus our trainings to improve their performance. And eventually, will be enforcing, our performance monitoring punitive actions such as sanctions and, taking other actions on the VVBs who are not really able to respond or improve their performance on the identified weak areas. So no, so we are not going to share this information publicly. That is between us and VVB, focusing on improving their performance, building their capacity to improve the work they do in the validation and verification activities.
Great. Robin, this one, or maybe this is Toby, I'm not sure. Can you expand on how the consultations focused on learning from and engaging with Indigenous peoples and local communities are working to inform Verra's safeguards? I know that's something Sinclair's working on.
Yeah, no, it's a really critical area and something Verra is really committed to and working very actively with. So we're actually engaged for the first time last year, really proactively with the various Indigenous groups and convening bodies to bring them into our various processes. And a good example is the development of the nature framework, where that framework is being built from the bottom up to make sure that it respects Indigenous rights, benefits those communities, and starts to engage and develop, actual pathways for activities in their regions and lands. So, and we're also doing the same in terms of safeguards under the VCS, and we'll be pulling together and working with the other standards bodies under ICVCM to make sure that the Indigenous voice is appropriately and well represented in safeguards.
Okay. Thank you. I think, I'm not sure, this was asked before, Farhan, I'm not sure you answered it. How are we going to track our performance against the SLAs that we set?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, so I think so you will see on the Project Hub, you will see SLAs, the targeted SLAs, along with the average cycle times on 3 months rolling average. So you can see both of the information on the Project Hub. So you can see what we are targeting and what our current average 3 months rolling average timelines are. So you can compare both.
Great. Having some questions. I think this is probably in relation to our recent statement on the higher research around the cookstove methodologies. Some questions around the status of the revision of our cookstove methodologies. Toby, can you kind of give an update on where we're at on that?
Yes, so we just finished the first public consultation on the new cookstoves methodology and had good comments there. We're in parallel working with the Clean Cooking Alliance and other leading scientific bodies to ensure that the right most conservative and appropriate factors are being used and workable approaches as well. And we'll also be aligning with the UNFCCC and its processes. So we want to make sure what we bring together is not only the best science and best practices, but also starts to bring alignment across the space, because we don't want folks using or wondering why one factor or component is different from another in a different standard.
Great. So with that, we're going to have to end it. We are at our time today. There are a number of questions that we didn't get to. We will try to, if you've provided your contact information to us, we will try to get back to you on those if we did not answer them today. But mostly just want to thank you all for taking an hour out of your very busy days to join us. Again, we will have regular updates on everything that we spoke about individually coming your way soon. And then we hope to see you again at our next stakeholder webinar in April. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.